morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. Welcome to the second episode of this video podcast in the context of the Jean Monnet Chair SESaMe towards a sustainable European social model. Today we have the opportunity and the honor to have here Consuelo CHACARTEGUI, who is Professor of Law at the University Pompeu Fabra of Barcelona. She is an expert in the field of labor law and ecology, and she just published a very important book together with other colleagues on the topic. So thanks very much, Chelo, for being here.
It's an honor for me also.
I would like to ask you some questions about your experience in the field of labor law and ecology, the meaning of sustainability, etc. And my first question relates to the fact that in your previous works, you quite often make reference to the environmental/ecological citizenship as a project of political organization to achieve sustainable model of economy and society. So my first question is, what is the place of labor law in this respect?
Mm-hmm. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation. For me, it's a great honor to be here in the University of Luxembourg with my distinguished colleagues, Luca Ratti and Antonio García Muñoz Alhambra. I'm very honored for this invitation. Labor law has an important role to achieve the developments in terms of ecology and also the guidelines that the International Labour Organization and the European Union has marked. I think that related the foundations of labor law, we can find important connections with, for example, other matters that are working in the areas of ecological research. For example, relating the foundations of labor law, I think that the protection that is inside the origins of labor law is very important from a perspective in which if we don't protect nature, we don't protect workers, and vice versa. If we don't protect workers, we don't protect nature. So we have to take profit of both synergies on labor law and ecology in order to protect more workers and the consequences of climate change in a warming world. For example, I want to stress the implications on health and safety at work. All the matters of occupational health are very, very important. People is dying because the extreme temperatures. In this moment, we need a joint approach in which we could mix the issues related external environment and internal environment. This artificial distinction that has in every discipline have no sense. Nowadays, I think that it's very important to mix all these questions in order to be more efficient. So I think that labor inspectors, judges, of course, social agents, social stakeholders, the trade unions' role is very, very important, it's crucial because they are working on NGOs and without abandoning the first role of trade unions, I think that we are in front of challenges that are very important in order to reach our important targets in terms of sustainability. We are in front of restructurings, we are in front of death because the temperatures, we are in front of all the matters that labor law has traditionally attend. So these are the main connections that I find as crucial in this moment.
Thanks very much, and I believe this gives very much the idea of sustainability as an encompassing concept, putting together the ecological, the social and the economic sustainability, and this is very much reflected on what you said. The second aspect I would like to stress is because since you are really a front runner in the research on these topics, you also mixed, because this comes from your past research, you also put in the picture the gender dimension. Mm-hmm. And you use this nice expression of substantive sustainability. And can you tell us a little bit more about what is this concept about and how it fits with the picture of sustainability more in general?
Yes, in this sense, I think that all the literature about ecofeminism is very important to understand which is the domination that we are in front of. The exploitation, the domination are common trends for labor lawyers to deal with these kind of questions, and also the environmentalists. I think that when we are talking about gender, there are a lot of literature on this. We are not only explaining a formal sense of the term. We are in front of a substantive equality. If we want to be successful in terms of discrimination against women, we have to seek the enforcement mechanisms to do this concept from a material way. So if we are putting this principle in terms of sustainability, we have parallelisms that could help if we are analyzing this from this concept of real and effective sustainability. Why? Because it's the same methodology. For me, this idea is a methodology of being effective in terms of equality and sustainability. Greenwashing is a reality in a lot of companies. It is not effective if a company put in the website that we are sustainable, we are green friendly. If we don't treat with respect of human rights of people, women in the company. So if we want to be effective, we have to focus this aspect in the enforcement of labor rights and also in the enforcement of environmental issues and regulations. So from this point of view, I think that if we are talking about real and effective sustainability, the efficiency could be in a better level than if we move only in a formal scenario that it could be very, very easy for everybody.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. This is an aspect also which it's still lagging behind a little bit in the debate on labor law and sustainability, even though it's a crucial matter for most people and it's a traditional topic of study in the labor law research field. I would like to touch on something that you already anticipated a little bit, because you mentioned the role of, or in general, of social stakeholders. And at one point you said trade unions are also an important part, and of course employers are also an important part of the picture. Mm-hmm. And how can we achieve what you call the collective governance of just transitions? What is this collective governance? How can these social partners really be part of it?
Well, I think approaching these kind of matters has a duty for all the stakeholders. An individual approach is condemned to the failure. I think that we need collective approaches, and we can see different directions in order to tackle these questions from a collective governance. For example, the form of enterprise is important, and also the actors that I referred before. Relating the enterprises, the form to deal the productive system in the concrete companies, I think that the better results are inside the cooperativism. Cooperatives have excellent ideas in order to go beyond in this matter. Why? One explanation is that they know better the territory. They are very near to the territory that they are working. And also an important thing is that they adopt the decisions in a very democratic way. So when you mix all of these components, all of this in the same agenda, in the same direction, you detect that it could give good results in terms of sustainability. We have examples, for example, in Mondragón, also in Colombia, because the disasters, the natural disasters, and we have some important cooperatives that could aid in these periods in which the aid is necessary, not only for the workers, but also for the community in which they are. Argentina, for example, in tourism, I think that there are good experiences. Spain is also a case. I have seen this for example, in terms of new forms of electric bikes in Mondragón and so on. There are a lot of examples in terms of this kind of forms of enterprises. On the other hand, collective governance involves the participation of workers through social dialogue, but particularly in collective bargaining. I think that collective bargaining is a great challenge, and now we have also experience. For example, in the agreement project from the European Commission, you could see a lot of examples in some countries of Europe. It has begun in a very initial stage that could give some previous experience, but there are a lot of paths to go in these matters. For example, in terms of restructuring areas, how to deal these opportunities for workers when we do the transitions from towards low carbon economies. And also in terms of gender that I explained before, when the companies are focusing in gender issues, they are respectful also with the environmental issues. There is a very high connection between both aspects. When you find companies that respect the environment, in general, these same companies also respect the minorities, women, rights of people from a human right perspective. So I think that collective governance involves all of these questions.
So there's also a kind of trade-off between these many components. You mentioned at last, and this is the point I would like to touch on at the end of this. You mentioned the role of collective bargaining and collective agreements, and that not only Europe, but beyond Europe, in South America, etc., we have good examples. But if we come back to Europe, what could be the role of the EU in general, and EU law in particular, in all this? Should the EU do more in terms of facilitating social dialogue, for instance, in this field, or should they go for instance, proper legislative initiatives in the field? What is your view on this?
I have detected that in terms of social dialogue, I think that it has a good effect in terms of irradiation of some policies towards local collective bargaining. So when we are in front of joint opinions, declarations, and this kind of European instruments, we have better results because all of this culture of rights are being irradiated through the different levels, national and even local levels or company levels. Nevertheless, we have all of this in an initial stage because in the great majority of collective bargaining, we only find general clauses For example, this company wants, they aim to respect the Sustainable Development Goals of United Nations, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, this is important because it creates a culture in which all of the different parties are involved. But we have to go beyond. How? For example, I think that one challenge is how to do all these questions inside the field of the supply chains, the global supply chains. This is a very important question because when we are decentralizing companies in different areas of the planet, we have to seek a co-responsibility of the different firms in all of these questions. So, for example, we have detected in different collective agreements the need of the contractors and subcontractors be respectful not only with the environment but also with the rights of workers. So all these dimensions are important to be in the same chapter in the collective bargaining, and not only in the chapter of social corporate responsibility. So that is good in the collective bargaining is that these kind of things could be enforceable, could be binding. Of course, in terms of health and safety, heat stress is a very important point to tackle in the collective bargaining, and we have some experience overall in countries as Spain or Italy or Greece, in which these are fatal consequences. So there are a lot of things, a lot of questions that arise in the collective bargaining scenario that we could explore a little more and be more successful in this area.
Thanks very much. I fully share this last point, and also the wish that the European Union will do something more in this field. With this, we can conclude our talk. Thanks again very much for having participated to it, and we look forward to read your articles in the field.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
A pleasure.